Welcome to the latest roundup of news and polls from Ipsos MORI, and as we go into further lockdowns, at least locally with a curfew, we've looked at public support for further measures to control the pandemic. What we can see is that 3/4 of people support implementing local lockdowns, particularly where it's rising, but as many as 7 in 10 support banning all travel into and out of the country, which seems pretty draconian, and 51% favour just shutting all pubs and bars entirely, not just asking them to shut at 10 p.m. So there's real support for very strong measures to control the virus, and it's just a reminder that the public is absolutely tending to put the precautionary measures first, despite their potential damage to the economy. 6 out of 10 people say they support the rule of 6, which stops people gathering in groups of more than 6 people, indoors or outdoors. Slightly different in Scotland and Wales, but overall it's very clear. It does change by age, with the young least enthusiastic, but in all age groups there is many more people in favour. There are many more people in favour than opposed, and even though Labour voters are less keen on the government, 56% of them support it too. So as the 10 p.m. curfew starts, overall the public is really, very focused. And when we ask people to make a straight choice, 45% say prioritise health, only 11% the economy. The government has also launched a tracing app this week, but only 27% of people back in the summer said that they would be very likely to download it. So it will be interesting to see how that goes. The government needs many millions to use it in order to make sure that it's successful. But nevertheless, 70% of people say that they're very likely to isolate if the app tells them to do so, or they're told to do so by somebody. So we will see how that plays out. The government is having a difficult time at the moment. Support for the government has dropped, and satisfaction with the Prime Minister is now down to 40%. He's now, in terms of his overall ratings, in terms of satisfaction at least, similar to Sir Keir Starmer, the leader of the opposition. But in terms of his overall image, it's clear that while people say that Boris Johnson has a lot of personality and is patriotic, and on both those aspects he leads Keir Starmer by some margin, he is behind now on being a capable leader, being a good representative of Britain on the world stage, and importantly on having sound judgement, where he's rated at 30% compared to 43% for Keir Starmer. So Keir Starmer is certainly making progress with the British public in terms of his image, and it's one of the first times, it's the first time in over a decade where more people say they like the leader of the opposition than like the opposition party, the Labour Party itself. This hasn't necessarily fed through into voting intention in the way that some of that previous stuff on leadership image might suggest, because the Conservatives remain in the lead, but only by 3 points. Their lead has fallen markedly. Labour is catching up. None of this, of course, tells us anything about what would happen to a general election in a few years' time. And do remember that Ed Miliband in 2012, on this same chart, was 12 percentage points ahead of the Conservatives. But what's interesting is how much more popular Sir Keir Starmer is with voters than Ed Miliband was at the time. The challenge Keir Starmer has is getting people to be as enthusiastic about the Labour Party as they are about him. Overall, in terms of people's feelings about the country, though, we're becoming more and more pessimistic about the economy. We've got 2/3 who say it's going to get worse, so you can see here that it's tracking up. Only 1 in 5 who are optimistic, and given the likelihood of potentially of more draconian measures to control the virus, which will also spill onto the economy, that might not be wrong in terms of people's pessimism. Things that will cheer up some people will be the outcome of the American election very shortly in November, and the numbers show that Joe Biden continues to stay ahead of Donald Trump. He's 9 points ahead in our polling among likely voters. Normally that would mean that he's going to win, but of course nothing in American politics, or indeed any politics, seems guaranteed these days. The key issue voters say they're voting on is now the economy, not healthcare, despite the state of the pandemic in America. And that might give Donald Trump some glimmer of hope. But on the numbers that we have at the moment, Joe Biden ought to win. Whether or not Donald Trump will actually concede defeat or not is quite another matter. And then finally, as we reopen schools, we've done some work for the Early Intervention Foundation looking at parents' concern about their kids' mental health. And we've got 51% saying that they're worried, 4 out of 10 parents saying that their children's mental health has worsened since lockdown began, and a lot of that is about the lack of social contact that their children have had with friends. And this is a challenge, I think, for all of us, particularly as we start to restrict our activities again. During lockdown, we've seen as many as 45% of working mothers saying that their mental health has been affected as they juggle looking after children and their jobs. And, the country will be changed by the virus. Finally, elsewhere this month, we've looked at how COVID-19 has affected trust in scientists. We're looking in detail at how customer experience is changing, and our long-running series on the virtual future of research continues. It's going on through October. The next sessions look at how you can use social data from social media to understand public opinion in more depth, and how you can use NFC or near-field communication to get close to consumers right at the moment that they buy or look at something. So do have a look at that programme of research. The details are all at the link here that I'm showing you now. And that's all for this month, folks, or this week. I'll be back very soon. Thank you. Bye-bye.